Good morning, New York Mets Nation, and welcome to the BatCave. I'm your host, the Bat Fry, Kenny Fry. You can see my little Twitter handle right there, the BatCave on Out of the Box Sports. Check it out. Drop me a line, all that good stuff. Before I get started, I'd like to say happy Thanksgiving to you and your family out there. I hope you have a great holiday. Be safe. Be careful. And, Batman says be careful when you're dropping that turkey in the deep fryer there. That's, it can be dangerous stuff. So make sure you're careful. Keep it away from the house and all other structures. We don't want anything burnt down, going into the holiday season there. Here we go. Safety first, right, guys? Safety first. So how's everybody doing out there in New York Mets land? Hopefully all is well. Heading into wintertime here, late fall. All the leaves are gone off the trees. It's good stuff. I'm not a huge fan of the cold anymore. Not as much as I used to be when I was younger, but I mean that's what happens when you get old. Things start to hurt, pop, crack, snap, twitch, all that other stuff. It's getting old sucks, I guess. That's what you hear, and lo and behold, here it is. So we'll jump into it real quick. With Mets add to the bullpen, they made a couple moves recently through a trade with the Marlins and also a couple waiver wire type deals to kind of bolster the bullpen a little bit, which could mean that there's quite a few guys not coming back. But some of the moves they made, it's just really nothing that really makes a splash, nothing that really says, "Oh, this guy's a definite force to be reckoned with in the bullpen." So I'll go over those with you guys. So they traded for Franklin Sanchez from the Marlins. Sanchez is mostly a minor leaguer. He's 2-2 with a 3.79 ERA in the minors this past season with 3 different teams. So he progressed up. So it's he didn't really have any impact for the Mets, but it's just a hand gone, a young hand. I think he was 22, 23. So I think he actually might have been 20 if I remember correctly now. So they traded him to Miami for a 27-year-old right-hand pitcher, Elieser Hernandez. And it's again not nothing too great. 10-21, 5.04 ERA, 5 seasons with the Marlins. Nothing to really write home about. And also they also traded for Jeff Brigham, right-handed pitcher also. He was 3-7 with a 4.52 ERA in 3 seasons. And it's so the Elieser Hernandez trade is more of a the way it seems to me is with that high ERA, but it seems like a guy that's gonna eat some innings. Sometimes you have those games where you're getting blown out or it's one of those starts where you're to a game where you just need to get through a game. So it's a bullpen game, they call it. They bring in some guys to eat up a lot of innings. So that could be one of those moves, kind of like that. Like I said, a young guy. So we'll see how that works out. I like it when they bring in young guys, even if they don't have great ERAs. From everything I read on Elieser Hernandez, he has good stuff. So that tells me, with the right pitching coach, the right team, maybe work, through his repertoire a little bit, maybe add something or take something away, have him focus on, instead of 3 pitches, have him focus more on 2 pitches until he gets them, right. And, go from there and see what happens. My boy Paul Spencer checking in. What's up, Paul? He says he loves a PG-rated show. Yep, the Federales swooped in and shut down the old Cowboys and Giants show last night. Too hot to handle, too cold to hold, I guess they say. The kids say that, I think. I don't know. But yeah, the happy Thanksgiving, Paul. So it was quite a show last night. And so the Mets also claimed William Woods off waivers, Taylor Saucedo, who has pitched 33 games with a 5.40 ERA, and right-hand pitcher Steven Ridlings. So it's a couple arms, and the thing that worries me with that is the Mets have quite a few arms, bullpen arms in free agency right now that pitched for us last year. That pitched really well for us last year. A couple guys I'd like to see come back. A couple guys I'm like, they can kind of stay away. For instance, Trevor Williams, I'd like to see him back. He was kind of up and down last season, but I felt like there were some times where he was just lights out. If we can get more consistency from Trevor Williams like that, I think he's worth bringing back. And also, he can eat up a good bit of innings. Also, he's one of those guys that can come in and pitch four solid innings for you out of the pen if your starting pitcher gets hurt or he's getting blown up or whatever. Of course, the big guys, Adam Ottavino, who I pray that the Mets, bring him back. I feel like he was our best reliever outside of Diaz. Adam Ottavino was just outstanding all season, as well as Seth Lugo. And the one thing about Seth Lugo is he's starting to get from what I've been reading on the interwebs, he's been getting some contact from other teams about potentially being a starter. Now, in Seth Lugo's past, he has started done some spot starting for the Mets, and he's done well. And nothing, he's not one of those pitchers that can go deep. Most pitchers nowadays don't go deep. Period. It doesn't really matter. But he's the type of guy that can come in and give you 5 solid innings, and he's another bullpen arm. At this past season was really, really good for us, and was pretty much lights out. It was super consistent. But I'm fine. Like Joely Rodriguez. I'm cool with him being gone. And Drew Smith, he was all right this season, but he's another guy. But it makes me a little worrisome that picking some of these guys up, could mean some writing on the wall for some of those guys that I'm hoping that the Mets keep. But there's only so much money to go around, and you have your eyes set on bigger prizes. That's kind of what happens. Is you start cutting the fat, start bringing in cheaper talent or talent that might not have been up to par to what you had the season before, just so you can upgrade another spot. So it's kind of in the back door, out the front type of deal, I guess. It is what it is. And that's the nature of the beast. And so that's what was going on with the additions to the bullpen. I'm interested in the Saucedo and the Eliseo Hernandez one. That's that Eliseo Hernandez has me really curious, just because he's so young. 27 years old. And he's 5 seasons in already. He had with the Marlins. Like I said, his ERA super high, but with the right work, it could be he could turn it around. So we'll see what happens. Maybe none of these guys even make the roster. Maybe even some of these guys just end up in the minor leagues. I don't know. As the Mets still pursue DeGrom. There's talks of them pursuing Verlander and stuff like that, but we'll get to that. Actually, we'll get to it right now. I'm running the show here. Free agency update. So they're mostly just the pitching stuff. So like I said, the Mets pursuing DeGrom. Stuff that I was reading recently was whether or not it's true. I don't believe anything I read on the internet anymore. There's some crazy ass stuff I've seen on the old Twitter box, and so I just don't believe anything anymore. And but anyway, there was reports that I read that said DeGrom would prefer to stay with the Mets, but it's going to be kind of show me the money type of deal. And the Mets were talking with we're supposedly had a Zoom meeting with Justin Verlander, as he was meeting all sorts of other teams as well, Dodgers, and I'm sure the Astros still, and who probably the Rangers. They seem to be in play for everybody. So If the Mets lose DeGrom, do they go after Verlander, who's looking for Scherzer type money, a short deal, 2-3 years, with Verlander's age, you figured it'd probably only be 2 years, but a 2-3 year deal, 2 to 3 year deal, 50 million, per. So it's a hell of a price to pay. But that's what it is nowadays. It's and the way Verlander pitched this season, he was the AL Cy Young. He went into the playoffs, pitched well up into the World Series, and had the one rocky start. But then he came back against Philly and pitched well his second start against Philly. So it's he got things right. He got things going on right now. And he looked good for a man. I think he's 39. For a pitcher his age, coming off Tommy John surgery, I think he's a year and a half, 2 years removed from Tommy John. He looks really, really good. So it's, we lose DeGrom, that's a possibility. Also, Kodai Senga everybody's looking at this guy right now. I guess there's a handful of teams that he's visiting, but he was one of the top pitchers in Japan for the Nippon Professional Baseball League, which is the top league in Japan. It's like the major leagues in Japan. And so some of his stats there: 275 appearances since he's been pitching in the MPB, with a 2.42 ERA. And last year he had 23 starts with a 1.89 ERA. I mean, and he had a strikeout to walk ratio of 3-1, I believe it was. I think it was 3.23. Which is pretty impressive. And 29 years old, he's a right-handed pitcher. So it's like I said, lots of teams are looking at him. It's going to cost a lot of money to bring him in. He has a 96 to 98 mile an hour fastball, and from what I've been reading on him, his forkball / cutter, they call it a ghost fork for whatever. I guess because it disappears. My assumption is, or you just kind of swing through it. I guess kind of you just swing through it. But yeah, so his forkball, they say, is unhittable, which they also call a cutter in the baseball jargon. And so we'll see what happens with that. Do they go after Senga? I don't know. That's another thing. It's hopefully they resolve the DeGrom thing quickly. Either he's going to stay or he's going to go. I've expressed my feelings on this already. I want him to stay. I'd love for DeGrom to stay, finish his career as a Met. But if he goes, he goes. I mean, it is what it is. You can't be held hostage by one player, and especially with his age, his injury history now, the type of money he's looking for. It's just one of those. It just the Mets fan in me wants him to stay, but the baseball guy, I mean, kind of like it makes sense for him to go if he's going to ask for that much money with his history and all that other stuff. But it's just, I want to see him finish in the old blue and orange, and we'll see what happens. But if he does decide to stay or go, hopefully it's relatively soon, so that way we can move on, and we don't have to hear about is DeGrom going to stay? Talks this and this much money that this is being held up. I'd like to move on with it, and I don't know how soon it is going to get resolved. Hopefully it's not a next year thing. Hopefully it's sometime in December. But we'll have to wait and see. Just like the whole Aaron Judge thing, hopefully this isn't something that just carries on. I don't think the Mets are going to be in play for Aaron Judge at all. Just because it's a need, but it's not a need. I mean, every team needs a 60+ home run guy. Every team needs a guy that's going to drive in 130 runs and hit over 300, and play really, really good defense for being 8 feet tall. It's every team needs that, but it's how long is he going to hold everybody hostage, all these teams hostage by doing his track around the country. He's his trek around the country. I seen something where he's in San Francisco meeting with the Giants, and that's where I believe he's going to end up. If he's not a Yankee, which I take that back. I do think he's going to be a Yankee, but if he's not a Yankee, I think he's going to be a Giant. From what I understand, he's a California kid. I think he grew up in San Francisco. I could be wrong about that, but I'm almost positive he's a California guy. So it wouldn't shock me if Judge signed with San Francisco, and San Francisco said they're opening up the pocketbooks, just like the Texas Rangers, who were going after everybody and their sister. And it's just it's one of those things. And then that Mets Stephen Cohen said that he's gonna, he's opening the pocketbook also. He wants I think we had the highest payroll of 370 million or something like that. He said he wants to push 400 this year. So whether or not that's going to happen, whether or not that was even true, again, like I said, I don't believe everything that I read on the interwebs, but sometimes there is some factual type stuff on there, and you kind of just like, well, let's just throw it out there and see what happens. It's like throwing water balloons. Some of them break, some of them don't. So what else we got here? Yeah, like I said about Lugo, the free agency. Yeah, so that's about it with free agency. Like I said, I want to the relievers I want to see come back. Of course, I want to see Nimmo come back, and that's another guy that I've heard with the Rangers. And where else did I hear Nimmo going? I read Nimmo going. It might have been the Dodgers, but for some reason I feel like that was somebody else. I seen something with they had Aaron Judge wearing an LA Dodgers hat, so that's another possibility because they're clearing out a whole bunch of guys. It seems like Justin Turner was let go. Trey Turner, they declined the option, or they didn't pick up the option, whatever it was. So there's Kershaw. He's a potential free agent there. I'm not sure if they picked up his option or declined his option or whatever's going on there. But from what I understand, he's a free agent. There's a chance. I read that Verlander, he could go to LA, and LA's another big spender. So and Trey Turner, who it's going to be interesting to see where Trey Turner goes. Is he going to go to Philly? Is he going to go to Atlanta? So it's going to be a lot of fun to see where these guys go. Carlos Correa, that's another guy that was a slight rumor to the Mets. That's one of the things I love about sports is the free agency talk. It's neat. It's like trading baseball cards almost. Like, oh, I'll give you this Jose Canseco, and okay, I'll give you this Ricky Henderson. It's a lot of fun when free agency happens. It just sucks ass when your team is the one getting picked apart, or your team is the one not spending. But it seems like the Mets are in play for a lot of guys, as well as the Phillies are, the Braves are, the Dodgers are, the Rangers. So a lot of teams are in play for a lot of guys, and so it should be a lot of fun this off season. Hopefully, like I said, hopefully it's quick. I like to see some of these guys get signed quick so we can start signing some of our own. But it's, preferably Ottavino, Lugo, Nimmo. I definitely want to keep Nimmo. If we're not going to pick up somebody like a Trey Turner, which I don't see happening, I see him going to Atlanta or Philly. That's all you hear about. The Philly fans are going ape over him. They want him something fierce. It's the same thing with Atlanta. I know a couple guys that are fans of the Braves, and they want Trey Turner down there. So it's going to be interesting. So we'll move on from that. We'll just cruise right along to Happy Metsgiving, which is a little twist on words there. I don't know if you picked up on it. I twisted the word there. Instead of Thanksgiving, I put Metsgiving. So I'm just going to go over some of the things that I'm thankful for this past season with the Mets. This is kind of like a season in review almost type of show. So love it, hate it, whatever. That's whatever. So the things I was writing down because I have a shit memory. It is what it is. It's always been like that. You can ask my wife. It's a terrible memory. But so some of the stuff I've written down, some of the stuff I remember. So some of the things I've been thankful for this past season with the Mets. I'll start off with Diaz, Edwin Diaz's consistency out of the bullpen, and of course the trumpets. Love it or hate it, it was a cool thing to have this past season. To go through, it seemed like a lot of the nation was talking about it, how cool it was, and it was a pretty neat walkout song. Kind of took on a life of its own, and it's people started turning on. It's just one of those things, uh, people like it for so long, and they get sick of it, and they hate it. It's just, it is what it is. Kind of like Hulk Hogan. You love Hulk Hogan for so long, then you hated Hulk Hogan. It turns. Brandon Nimmo's another thing I'm thankful for is Brandon Nimmo's tenacity and his hustle. And I compared Brandon Nimmo to Lenny Dykstra, and I still stand by that. Lenny Dykstra was just such a hustler, such a nose to the grindstone type of player, just grind everything out, and everything was 100 miles an hour with Lenny Dykstra. And it's the same exact way with Nimmo. I mean, the difference is while Lenny had chew spit on the front of his jersey or dripping down his chin or whatever, Nimmo was just wearing a smile. Nimmo seemed like a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, super positive. Seems like a great teammate. That's another reason why I hope he sticks around. Kind of like a glue kind of guy. There's always a positive side to everything. And you as much as those guys sometimes get on your nerves because they're always so happy and they're always so positive, you kind of need them around sometimes when you're feeling like shit. You just keep them around, kind of lift your spirits a little bit. And it's contagious also. It's positivity is contagious. Hustle, I believe, is contagious. You see somebody out there busting their ass, you're going to start busting your ass a little bit more. Say, hey, he's outworking me, or look at the way he's working, and we're down by 4 runs. I'm going to work just as hard, stuff like that. It's very contagious, in my opinion. So yeah. Another thing was the promising farm system. It seems like our farm system, which has been in shambles for years, because a lot of times we think we're in a playoff race, and a lot of times we're not. We end up trading the farm system away for a has-been type player who doesn't contribute to the team, and we end up paying millions of dollars for the next 15 years. So it's that's happened time and time again with the Mets, but it seems like they're finally getting on track with their farm system, which you have with some legitimate trade bait. Then some guys, you build up your farm system. It can help you with trades at the trade deadline or in the offseason, but it also, as your stars or your starters, get older or their contracts come up, and you know what, I have a guy just as good for cheaper down in the farm system. It's time I bring him up anyway. Stuff like that. It seems like the Mets are really going in the right direction with their farm system, and so I really liked what they've done there. Like they brought it up Vientos this year, Brett Batty. And also Francisco Alvarez, who I've high hopes for him. From everything I read, is just a fantastic player, a terrific offensive catcher, and you're getting better with his defense. And it's important. That's one of the things that we had this year was some pretty decent defensive catching from Tomas Nido, and even James McCann. It's just his bat pissed me off so much I kind of looked past it. So I'm also thankful for Pete Alonso's bat. Had a hell of a season at the plate this year, and breaking the RBI record of 40 home runs, I should say. And the one thing that I was really happy to see is him hitting 270. Kind of flirted 280 a couple times. He dropped down to 260, 250. Back up to 270, and it's really impressive for a guy like that who was a free swinging slugger to bring his average up, to bring his on base percentage up, to take the strikeouts down a little bit, and she said pretty much it seems like he shortened his swing. His swinging looks totally different than it used to, so I credit that to Buck Showalter and his coaching staff. It's Pete as it was a different hitter this year. And I really enjoyed watching him hit. Also, Francisco Lindor. I'm thankful for Francisco Lindor returning to form. As we all know, back in 2021, it was not himself. was not the Francisco Lindor we traded for. First season in New York, did that have something to do with it? Just getting acclimated to the city and all that other stuff. That very well could be it. It seems like I've mentioned this before. A lot of players that go from smaller market teams to larger market teams struggle that first season or struggle the entire time they're there. But a lot of them struggle that first season, and then that second season back, they thrive. They're back to who they were before, or very close to it. I still believe that Francisco can hit for a higher average, but his power numbers were there. I think he had 29 home runs, 28 home runs, over 100 RBI, and I think he ended up 101, maybe 102. Terrific defense, great base running. So he was just about returning to form. I was happy to see that this year. It was one of those things that I was really nervous about. That he was just going to be a dud, and that was you put a lot into a guy like that. We paid him a lot of money, so I'm glad. I'm glad as of last season he's not going to be a dud. I'm also thankful for Chris Bassett. He was an absolute workhorse this season. Especially early on when DeGrom was out, and then Scherzer dealt with some injury issues. He was the one constant. He Cookie Carrasco, and Taijuan Walker kind of carried that starting rotation while DeGrom was out. And when Scherzer was in, Scherzer was undoubtedly the ace. He had a hell of a season this year. Scherzer did, but he also had a couple bouts with the injury bug, and but Chris Bassett was one constant, all season, just super consistent. I thought early on struggled a little bit, but again, new team. I remember watching one game, him having trouble with I want to say it was Nito behind the plate, Tomas Nito, just getting on the same page with the calls, using that stupid ass pitch calm, and just shaking his head, stepping off. Everybody's booing him. Gets back on the mound, shaking his head, just going like this. Steps off. It's like, so it's it. But after that, he seemed to really kick it in, and he had a terrific season. So I'm really glad he's on my team. Also, I'm also thankful for Jeff McNeil's choke, and what I mean by that is when he holds if you watch baseball, if you watch the Mets, you know what I'm talking about. The dude holds the bat, he chokes up so far. There's like this much of the bat just hanging down. Even if you call it a bat, it looks more like a club, but it doesn't have your traditional knob at the bottom or anything like that. And but it's super cool to see. You don't see a whole lot of players utilize the choke anymore, and he just he made that 34-inch bat down to a 27-inch bat. And it helped him. He went back to just getting base hits, and that led to him getting the batting title this year, a Silver Slugger award as well. And he was a huge part of our offense and our defense as well, playing multiple positions. It plays a terrific second base, and he plays a very good outfield as well. So yeah, I was very thankful for McNeil's choke, hitting well over 300. And winning that batting title on the last day of the season. Need to get a little sip out of my dugout mug here. I'm still working on those guys for out of the box sponsorship, but we'll see what happens. And then also I'm thankful for SNY's crew of Gary Cohen, Ron Darling, and Keith Hernandez. I love listening to those guys. Gary's calls are absolutely amazing. They started this new thing this year. A lot of teams have, and I've seen it carrying over to other sports now. It's where they have a press box camera where it's constantly on these guys, especially the play-by-play guy, and something big happens. It catches his reaction, it captures the other guys in the booth, their reaction, and just watching that, the excitement and hearing the voice and stuff like that. It's super neat to see. But I love their show. I don't know if Keith is going to be back. I did read his contract was up with SNY. Will they resign? I hope they resign him. They have a great thing going in the booth. Ron Darling, super smart with the color analysts and stuff like that. Keith, he caught a little bit of heat this year with Philly fans, but he wasn't wrong. To be honest with you, the Phillies were underachieving beginning of the season. Defense was god awful. It bit them in the ass so many times, and it took them a while to kind of catch the Phillies their footing and get on track offensively. Anyway, defensively, I don't think they ever really got it. They went through some nice stretches where like Alec Boehm started playing a really good third base and stuff like that. But yeah, Keith wasn't wrong. The Phillies kind of use that as like a rallying cry, but he wasn't wrong at that time. He wasn't. The Phillies were underachieving and they played shit defense. I mean, it is what it was. And last but not least, I'm also thankful for the Mets manager Buck Showalter. He's brought a different type of culture to the team. I feel like we've had so many different managers. I can't even name them. By far, my best manager, these past 25, 30 years, it seems like, has been Bobby Valentine. And Bobby Valentine, in my opinion, brought a different type of culture. He kind of made it a little bit more fun, smart baseball. And that's the one thing I feel like Buck has brought to the Mets is smart baseball. You see them utilize some different types of shenanigan type plays and stuff that you never even thought of or heard of. And there's one in my head that I keep thinking of. I just don't know how to articulate it into words. It was a whole base running thing. Like I don't remember who it was against, but they were going to appeal they were going to appeal an early tag up. So they're saying somebody left early tagging up after a pop fly. So the pitcher steps off the mound like he was going to throw it over to the base to get it to check. Well, as he steps off the mound, that's a live play. So I think it was somebody was on first or second. I can't remember exactly, but they took the next base. They're like, well, he can't do that. We're appealing a play. Well, as soon as you step off that mound, that's a live ball. I never even thought of that. That's one of the things that Buck Showalter has brought to the Mets, and it's one of the reasons why he was voted as the manager of the year. Agree with it or disagree with it. Manager of the year, it is what it is. I think he deserved it just as much as anybody else. Of course, Rob Thompson, great job with the Phillies, but he finished fifth in the voting. That was really surprising to me. Wasn't even a finalist. I believe he should have been. But, if and buts were candy and nuts, that is what it is. Joe Sullivan checking in. What's up, Joe? Says happy Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving to you, brother. Great show. Interesting hot stove times coming up. Absolutely. I can't wait. Like I said earlier, I don't know if you've seen it earlier, Joe. I hopefully some of these big names sign quickly, so we can kind of start filling in the rosters, because it's just gonna stink if you have somebody like DeGrom or Judge just dragging it out, holding teams hostage. Because these guys are gonna demand a lot of money. Trey Turner, these guys are going to demand a lot of money, and they can easily hold a team up that's interested. They're waiting and waiting and waiting as these teams are waiting for these guys to decide if they're going to sign with them or not. These secondary players that fill out your roster that make your team a team, they're signing with other teams. So now you wait. Okay, you don't get the big fish. You don't get Judge. You don't get DeGrom. All right, let's go get this guy. Well, he's not there anymore because he signed with the Chicago White Sox or somebody like that. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. Joe says hot stove has become a marathon the last 5 to 6 years. Yeah, it absolutely has, and that's what it makes me nervous. I'd rather the sprint, get it over quick. Joe says Harper didn't sign until almost March. And I'm telling you, hopefully it doesn't go that long. If it goes that long, I don't know. That's in the spring training. March is in the spring training. I don't remember the Harper signing when he did sign with the Phillies. I do remember it was a big ass deal. I didn't expect him to go to the Phillies. That's probably one of the last places I thought. But Britiana checking in. Hello, Britiana. She also says, how's your day going? My day's going well. How's your day? Happy Thanksgiving, Britiana. Thanks for checking out the show. You can check out all of our shows here on Out of the Box Sports. We have a whole host of them. I'll run them off later on. Also, make sure you check out our shows on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow. Hit that thumb button, hit that heart button, all that other good stuff. And don't be afraid to just like Britiana, don't be afraid to comment on here if you're watching the show. Shoot comments. No question's a stupid question. If it's an ignorant comment, I won't show it unless I think it's funny. Then we'll see what happens with that. I like to have fun just as much as the next person. So yeah, that's all the stuff that I was thankful for with the Mets this past season. A lot of stuff. They had a terrific season, 101 wins. It kind of stunk the way it ended for us. The slip up in September, actually pretty much the whole second half of the season. Britiana asked, what games do I like to play? I really don't play games. As a father of three, I work night shift. I get as much sleep as I can, and then it's all kids all the time. All those kids in sports and stuff like that. So it's go, 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 go. I don't have time for games much anymore. A couple cell phone games, and that's about it. So we'll move on to my ever so popular top 10 list, and this one's the top 10 2022 Mets moments. So I just went over the Mets stuff that I'm thankful for this past season. So now I'm going to go over the top 2022 Mets moments, in my opinion, anyway. And so here we go. Let me get up my notes so I remember what order I have them in here. At number 10, I have the Mets when they came back down by 7 against the Phillies. I remember watching that game. I was watching it with my daughter. She laughed at me. She's making fun of me, poking old Papa Bear. I was taking it like a champ. I was taking like, okay, all right, yeah, okay. It's 7-0, okay. And things were not looking good. Nola was pitching outstanding that day. Somebody hit a home run. I think it was Marte hit a solo shot off of Nola. They pulled him out of the game. Went to the top of the ninth, 7-1 Phillies. And this is, I think I looked the date up. I think it was May 6th. I could be wrong on that. But yeah, so 7-1 going to the top of the ninth. And the Mets just started hitting the ball. Base hits, big flies. They had a 2-run blast from Francisco Lindor, I believe. Marcana had a big hit. Well, actually, it was one of those fluky hits. He hit the ball off of the Phillies. I think it was the closer's ankle or something like that. He moved Alonso up. Alonso had a hit in the inning, and then J.D. Davis, of all the people, J.D. Davis, comes up and knocks in a couple of runs. And I'll tell you what. Before I continue with my top 10 list, one of the guys I really bashed earlier in the season, J.D. Davis. The Mets let him go or traded him away at the trade deadline to the San Francisco Giants, and I believe they got Darren Ruff in return. J.D. Davis went out there; he got a ton of playing time, and he actually finished the season, pretty well. So I mean, that goes to show you sometimes guys aren't really made for the bench. The guys, the more action they see, the more at bats they see, the better off they are. And that's practice. One thing my dad has always preached to me and my brothers since we were little. Practice makes perfect. It's one of those deals. You always make your practices, but also the more games you play, that's more practice. That's more you're going to get better. You're going to get better. You're going to get better. So good on J.D. Davis. Good on him. Hopefully, if he lands with a team that gives him a lot of playing time, whether it be the Giants or not, we'll have to wait and see. So the Mets came back and they beat the Phillies 8-7. I remember I was on my way to work when the Mets tied it up, and I remember texting my daughter, and she's like, "I can't believe this." I'm like, "Oh, LOL," sending the laughing emoji and all that other stuff. And then I checked the score about a half hour later, and you had to see the Mets, actually won that game. So yeah, my number 10 was the Mets coming back 7 down versus the Phillies. Number 9, this was just kind of like a mirage type of deal, but the Mets taking 4 out of 5 against Atlanta in New York. That was a huge series at the time. I think it was in July. The Braves have been creeping up. They're within, I think, 2.5 games or something like that. And the Mets took, it was a 5-game series. The Mets took 4 out of 5, and they're a fairly dominant 4 out of 5. I think the Braves only had a lead for 9 innings out of those 5 games. And so yeah, it was a mirage because we all know what happened after that. The Braves kicked the Mets' ass every time they played after that, and the Mets kind of went downhill. I mean, it's the Mets, we all know. So get your jabs in there. So number 8 for Mets moments for 2022 is the trumpets for Narcos with Diaz. They had the one special when they had the Tommy Trumpet character playing the trumpets live at the stadium, and he was there the one game, but Diaz didn't get into for a save or even just a pitch. I believe it was I think it was against the Dodgers if I remember correctly. But then he decided to stay for a second game. He stayed the next day for the second game, and Diaz got to come in for I believe it was a hold and a close. I think he came in early that game. I think he came in the 8th, if I remember correctly. And the place just went absolutely ballistic. And again, I love Mr. Met. I have the hots for Mrs. Met. But when they play those trumpets, it pisses me off to no end. They're there, pretend playing their trumpets, going like this. It bothered the heck out of me. I don't know what it was, but every time I seen those, big-headed mascots playing their fake trumpets, it got under my skin. I don't know. I'm odd like that. It just really bothered the shit out of me. So I thought that was a great moment of the season. The place going nuts like that, and Timmy Trumpet playing the trumpet live, and so that was pretty cool. Number 7 was Pete Alonso breaking the club record for RBI, which was 124 RBI, which was held by David Wright and Mike Piazza. It was really cool to see. Good for Pete. He's been fairly consistent for us since coming up a few years ago, and like I said, he had a terrific season this year. I was thankful for his bat. Just produce. There was some spots where I would have liked him to come up bigger in, but that goes for the whole team. But Pete ended up. He said set the new mark now at 131 RBI. Hopefully he breaks that next year. Hopefully he pushes 140. We'll see. Number 6 was DeGrom breaking the record for 40 straight starts with 3 runs or less, and that's just a feat in itself. The one thing that kind of sours this one for me a little bit is that with his injury history, it was over a couple years, where over a longer period of time than you would think it would be for a starting pitcher. But with that being said, it's insane to think of 40 straight starts with letting up 3 earned runs or less. That's just a model of consistency right there. His dominance and why he should be a Hall of Famer once he does hang up the cleats. Despite not a great record, a lot of that goes with the Mets not giving him run support, or when he would leave with a lead, his bullpen giving it up or whatever. But he's just been outstanding for the Mets. That's why I hope he's back to finish his career as a Met. It'd just be nice to see. And then we all know what happened after that. After he set the record, his next start out against the Oakland Athletics, he got lit up against the Athletics. Of all the teams, against the Athletics. So, and he wasn't really the same pitcher after that either. It seemed like he was missing something, and so at number 5, I have DeGrom's return. It was very anticipated. Just waiting for him to come back. And when he finally did come back, it gave the Mets, it felt like to me, it gave us new life. It felt like we were refreshed almost. When he was in there, the fans were super hyped. The team seemed to play a little bit crisper when he was on the mound. His first couple starts after coming back from being injured for being out for, I guess, over a year. So it was very it was a motivational tool that the Mets used for a little bit, and again, we all know what happens. Kind of just went away. My number 4 top 10 2022 Mets moment is Jeff McNeil's batting title. As the season was winding down and things were going crappy, the one consistency was Jeff McNeil getting base hits. Just time and time again. I even said it in the one show that there's no way he was going to catch Freddie Freeman. And for the most part, I didn't think he was going to catch Paul Goldschmidt either. I didn't think he was going to pass Goldschmidt out. But he and Freddie Freeman left Goldschmidt in the dust. And but Freddie Freeman had a fantastic season. Nothing against Freddie Freeman, but Jeff really earned that. We kind of needed it this year. The way it ended, it was kind of nice, a silver lining type thing, But it was a lot of fun to watch him down the stretch, battle and get the hits and just following it every day. Where's his average at? What did Freddie Freeman do that day? Okay, this and that. And they came down to the last day. Jeff sat, and Freddie Freeman was like I think like 4 or 5 points behind, and I think he ended up going like 3 for 4 or 4 for 5 and brought it within 1 point. So, kudos to Freddie Freeman on that. So the number 3, I have the combined no hitter against the Phillies in April. The reason it's number 3 is because it's a combined no hitter. It's still a no hitter. It doesn't matter what you say. It's still a no hitter. The combined part of it kind of takes away some of its luster, but a no hitter is a no hitter. I think we're going to start seeing more and more of these combined no hitters. That's just the way the league's going now. You're seeing pitchers not going very deep into games anymore, and that's just the way it is. So the pitchers that pitched that game, you had Tyler McGill. He started it. He went 5 innings. You had Drew Smith go inning and a third. Joely Rodriguez won an inning. Seth Lugo won 2/3 of an inning, and then Edwin Diaz closed it out. There's a 3-0 win against the Phillies, and it's one of those things. I said to my daughter, I think it was a couple days before that actually, because she asked me when did the Mets play the Phillies, and I said, "Oh, it's coming up really soon." And she I don't know if she asked me if the Mets could no hit the Phillies or if she asked me if any team can no hit the Phillies. And I know I said to her, any team can no hit anybody, but I said with that Phillies lineup, I said it's going to be very hard for any team to no hit the Phillies. It's just an up and down solid lineup, and the Mets no hit them, and of all the pitchers to do it, Tyler McGill was the starter. So that's kind of insane. Seeing where he finished the season off, he finished the season very poorly. Being injured most of the season in the middle there, he came back off the injured list and was not the same guy. The number 2 Mets moment is his moment I'll probably never forget. Was the Mets playing the Dodgers in New York. There's a billing of a possible NLCS type championship. This could be a preview, but we all know how that happened. Neither team made it there, and Nimmo's catch. So DeGrom was on the mound. He was pitching well. The Dodgers started hitting him a little bit. Started hitting him hard. They hit a couple balls deep to the fence. I think there was one off of the fence maybe. And Justin Turner was up for, red beard, red hair and all, former Met. Whenever he plays against the Mets, it's always, oh, he's a former Met, blah, blah, blah. And he crushed it. The dude just smoked it. Nimmo full speed back to the wall, huge jump, glove, and basically his arm from his elbow to his glove up over the fence, catching that ball. Like I said, sprinting there. There was no run, stop to the fence, jump up and catch. The dude is on a straight ass sprint, leaps into the air, over the wall, brings it back, and just his reaction after that, the excitement he had is one of the things I love about Nimmo. The pure joy and elation, pumping his fist and screaming, and the smile on his face, and DeGrom, taking a deep breath after that. So that's one day I'll never forget. One play I'll never forget. From the Mets. And my number 1 top 10 2022 Mets moment was their Old Timers Day this year. It's one thing that's kind of forgotten about a little bit, but it was a big deal when it was going on, because it was the first one that they've had since 1994, and it was a heck of a day. I watched a lot of the highlights from it. Seeing all the different players that all the different names there and stuff. It was really neat to see. They had guys from the '62 Mets there, from the '69 World Series team, the '86 World Series team, and and everywhere in between. And even Pedro Martinez was there. I think he even pitched a little bit. So Dave Yarnell checking in, saying, "What's going on, big man? How you doing, buddy? Happy Thanksgiving. Hope you enjoy your turkey tomorrow, and and football. We all know there's football on tomorrow, right? Cowboys Giants tomorrow. It's a big game. Like I said earlier about last night's show getting shut down by the Federales. It is what it is. So the Old Timers Day was the first one since 1994. There were 65 former players and managers that attended it. It was such a huge event. It got so much publicity. Hopefully, it's something they continue to do. Maybe not every year because then it kind of loses its luster. But hopefully, it's something they continue to do. That's something that every team should do. I think a lot of teams do it. I think the Yankees do it a lot. But I think that's something that every team should do. Bring back a bunch of old players, and have them play a little game or whatever. And it's neat for the fans to see the older fans, seeing players that they used to watch or looked up to when they were a kid or an adult, and also young kids. Oh, my dad used to talk about this guy. Oh, there he is now, and stuff like that. Like I could tell my son about Darryl Strawberry. And maybe 10 years down the road, we go to an old timers game and there's Darryl Strawberry using his bat as a cane, walking out to left field or right field or whatever, and I'm like, oh, son, there's Darryl Strawberry. He's like, oh yeah, I remember you tell me about Darryl Strawberry when I was a kid. So stuff like that, I think is really neat. And one of my favorite, Howard Johnson. It's one of my is my first favorite Mets player. First Mets player I ever started liking when I started watching baseball. And says, don't forget Dr. K. we won't forget. And I don't know if Doc Gooden was there this year or not. I don't remember if I remember seeing his picture. I'm pretty sure that Strawberry was there, but Doc Gooden, I don't remember if he was there or not. I think David Cohn was there. I don't remember if David Wright was. But anyway, that was my top 10 list. Again, I love doing top 10 lists, so I do them. Some of them sports related, some of them Mets related, some not sports related, some of them goofy ass related. It doesn't matter. I like having fun with it. It's my show. I like to keep it out of the box. And because it's the title out of the whatever. So we're gonna go ahead. This is my first time doing this part of the show, so bear with me. I'm gonna be doing that. Usually I read off a list of the shows. Now we have on Out of the Box Sports, but we made it into a video, so I'm gonna run that video off, and then after the video is done, I'm gonna do my send off, and then I'll finish it off here. So we'll try that out, see how that works out. So these are the shows that are on Out of the Box Sports. There we go. That was pretty cool. I like that. It's a lot easier than me stumbling over the words to tell everybody which show is what, and then I get to I am gonna miss doing the Jay Fine Law read though. I enjoyed doing that, the City of Brotherly Love part that I would do. I mix it up there. Crazy cat I am. But that's it for me, guys. I just want to say thank you for checking the show out. Like I said again, like, subscribe, follow YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, the old Facebook page there. And check all of our other shows out. We have a little bit for everybody. And yes, I guess that's it for me. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Oh, we got a comment here before I check out. Paul Spencer says, awesome job, brother. Thank you, buddy. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Everybody out there, have a great holiday. Like I said, be careful, especially when you're dropping the bird in the oil. I don't want to be watching you guys on TikTok setting your house on fire or burning yourself or setting your pants on fire, then running through the yard with your ass on fire. That is kind of funny. So that's all right, but don't set your house on fire, for the love of God. It's nothing that you want to go through. So thank you. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Eat lots of food. Get fat. And I'll see you guys in 2 Wednesdays. Not next Wednesday, the Wednesday after. Peace out. Same bat time, same